Shark Whitebeard here, making a video here at Shark's Tavern. This video is going to be a follow-up to the bayonet and musket video I did before. There's a lot of information to cover, and I think there's still a lot of interesting things to talk about. So one thing I want to talk about is in the previous video, I said like when the English attacked the city of Washington D.C. that Dolly Madison was the vice president's wife. She was actually James Madison's wife at the time, who was the president. So basically, Dolly Madison, the hero of the Battle of 1812, who saved the documents and stuff, was actually the first lady at the time. So just kind of make that correction. I got kind of my presidents mixed up. Something else I'd like to talk about is I touched on the fact that these guys they took kind of a long time to load. So basically, how long did they take to load? If you're a trained musket man, a French soldier or an English soldier, you're a professional, and they drilled all the time. They were expected to, and they could shoot 4 shots a minute. And you think, well, so basically what you're looking at is 1 shot every 15 seconds. And in a battle, 15 seconds can seem like a long time. But that's how fast they could shoot. One of the things what the British used to do, what they were famous for, but I think some of the other armies, I'm sure, did the same thing, was mostly against cavalry charges or cavalry attacks, they'd form a square. So they form a square all facing outside with their bayonets pointed out to keep the cavalry, the horses back, the guys on horseback, and then the guys on the inside of the square would be loading and shooting at these guys as they came forward at them. So they also called it like a hedgehog defense, or they said it's basically like a porcupine trying to get inside the bayonets. They're very effective. They use them at Waterloo and other battles. They used them. And it was pretty effective. What it wasn't effective against was artillery. So when the British formed squares, they could repel a cavalry attack and shoot and keep them back with bayonets. But they were pretty vulnerable to artillery shooting canister bombs and stuff like that, musket balls and stuff, and anti-personnel type projectiles at them. So it had its advantages and disadvantages. They couldn't move forward. It was basically a defensive position. One of the things they used to do, like I would say, they come within 50, they'd come within 50 yards, they'd shoot, and then you kind of think about it. I think soldiers could probably move at a fast trot. They could probably close within 15 seconds before the guys could load again. But one of the innovations I believe that Napoleon invented was he'd get the guys shooting, like at one time, he'd get the guys in the front line, drop to one knee, and they would shoot on command all at once in volley fire, and then they would reload. And while they're reloading, they'd have a line behind them of guys standing up, and then they would shoot on command, and then they would reload. And by that point, these guys in the front line would be reloaded again, and they'd shoot again, so they could keep a constant rate of fire going at one time. And that's if you're going to hold a position or something and not want to charge in with your bayonets. So one of the things I saw too was a drill where these reenactors did a drill where they said, okay, you got a guy, and they were like talking about fighting in the colonies, hiding behind trees and rocks and whatever. So you had 4 guys, and the one guy who was the best shot, he'd get up there, drop to one knee, and take a position behind a tree or something, and then the guys would get down beside him, behind him. And what they would do is let him shoot. And he'd pass the empty musket back to the guy behind him, and they'd pass it back to the guy, and he'd pass him a loaded one, and he'd shoot again. And then he'd pass that one back, and they kept passing loaded muskets back to him, and they could keep a constant rate of fire going like that with one guy shooting while 4 guys were reloading and handing them the muskets, which I guess was pretty effective. They drilled it, they trained at it, and they did use that kind of tactic. So that's just kind of a follow-up on the muskets, the flintlocks, the bayonet, and these type of weapons that they used back in the day. And they did use muskets and bayonets on the golden age of pirates also. So if you like videos like this, please like, subscribe, thumbs up, share, post a comment. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much.